quarterback rankings right now that we are going to bring up right now. So that's exactly what we're going to do right now. And Zach, we do this every year. We are done pretty much after this show, with our rankings, 32, top 32. And it's been fun. It's been a good ride. And I'm looking forward to this, specific set because these are your elite quarterbacks. These are the quarterbacks you expect to win MVP, Super Bowls. And, my criteria, was, projecting you into the year, eye test, what have you done so far, body of work, and all these criterias. But right now, this is the moment of truth. Zach, I know you're up today. I'm going to pass over the mic to you to explain your criteria for people that's watching the show for the first time, and then you could close us out.
Yeah, well, no doubt. And I agree. It's been a great ride doing this list over the course of the last couple of weeks. I think we started it at a good time because it really was able to get us through the bulk of the offseason, kind of the bulk of the dead period right before training camp was about to start, really into training camp a little bit. And then next thing you know, starting up tomorrow, we're going to have a full slate of preseason games and plenty to talk about. So that's good. And for my criteria, if you want to hear the rest of my list, you could listen back and what I had. But really, my main criteria was at the end of this season and really for the next 5 years, I want to look back on this list and say, okay, I got it right. I really put an emphasis on how do I think you're going to do this year? And really, how do I think the rest of your career is going to play out? Of course, your resume and what you've done up to this point really matters and everything you've done in the past. But we're going to be talking and previewing and analyzing games that are going to be taking place this year. And that really is what I thought all the focus should be. So without further ado, I'm ready to get into it. In case you guys missed it last week, I'll just give you guys the full breakdown, 10-6 who I had. And then after this week, I'm going to make updated graphics with not only my full list, 1-32, but Will's as well. So you guys will see that, and I'm looking forward to it. But last week, I had Dak Prescott at number 10, Jared Goff at number 9, Aaron Rodgers at number 8, Justin Herbert at number 7, and at number 6, I had Jalen Hurts. So, without further ado, let's get into it 5-1. At number 5 on my list, I'm going to go with C.J. Stroud of the Houston Texans. And I'll say this when it comes to Stroud, I think that I just watched the best rookie season that I've ever seen, and maybe in NFL history, watching him last year. 23 touchdowns, 6 interceptions in only 15 games played, and he was able to win his team a playoff game. And I just think it's so funny how quickly time goes in the NFL, because it really doesn't seem like that long ago to me that the Houston Texans, I remember this was in the peak of the pandemic in 2020, really right after the pandemic happened, I think. It was when the Houston Texans traded DeAndre Hopkins to the Arizona Cardinals for David Johnson and a second-round pick. And from that moment to the moment they drafted C.J. Stroud, this team was not only irrelevant, but I think that they had a legitimate argument as the most irrelevant and worst run franchise in not only the NFL, but in all of sports. And then C.J. Stroud comes in, and right away, he makes everyone around him better. And for me, I think that's a true test of an elite quarterback. No one was talking about Nico Collins and Tank Dell as possible breakout candidates at this time last year, but that's exactly what they did. And I think that's in large part because of the superpowers of C.J. Stroud and showing the ability to elevate players around you. That's really what the best quarterbacks do. And I think that's exactly what Stroud did last year in that playoff game against Cleveland, which they won. That was arguably too, like people were saying Cleveland was the best defense in the league last year. Stroud went 16 of 21, 274 yards, 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. He was elite in that game. And I know that it might sound premature to put a guy in the top 5 who only had one really good season, but I think that based on the eye test and everything I saw from this guy, it was that good. He was worthy of being in the top 5. I will have C.J. Stroud at number 5 in my list. At number 4, this is where things really started to get hard for me. I'm going to go with Josh Allen, and I'll say this. In our years of doing this list, this is actually the highest that Josh Allen has ever been, and I think he deserves it based on the consistency he's shown over the course of the last few years. There's no doubt that this guy is just a physical freak and has really shown that he just has an unreal arm. He's impossible to take down when he's running the ball, and he's just a great quarterback. And I understand that when you look at his postseason numbers, they are really good. But the reason for me that he's not higher on this list is just the postseason wins haven't been there. And if you've listened to me over the course of the last few weeks, you guys know that winning is just a huge, huge factor for me on this list. And I'm not going to lie, we've mentioned briefly on this list, like, oh, X player was the hardest player to rank for me, or Y player was the hardest player to rank for me on this list. And I would say that the hardest and most difficult section of my list to rank was the guys that are ranked 4, 3, and 2. We all know who number 1 is on my list for me, but I think the guys I ranked 4, 3, and 2, the margins are just so thin and so small that for me, resume really matters. And I'll say it, the main reason why Josh Allen is number 4 on my list and not number 3 or number 2 is because he hasn't been to a Super Bowl yet and he hasn't won an MVP yet. And you can't say the same thing about the guys ranked 2 or 3. Those guys have brought their teams to Super Bowl. One of them did. The other one has won multiple MVPs. So that's what I would say. If you want to be in my top 3, when the competition is this close, I just want to see you do one of those 2 things. And Josh Allen hasn't done that. And I'll end by saying this. It would really mean something to me, and it would be a real eye-opener if this season, right after they traded Stephon Diggs, his top weapon, if Josh Allen is able to do one of those 2 things, if he's able to bring the Bills to a Super Bowl this year, if he's able to win an MVP this year, then he will definitely be in my top 3 and maybe even higher next year. But the bottom line is he just hasn't done that yet, so I will have him at number 4. At number 3, I'm going to go with Lamar Jackson. He's the reigning NFL MVP, and he just became the youngest player in NFL history to win multiple MVPs. And I don't really think I need to harp too much on just how good of a regular season player Lamar Jackson has been. He's really accomplished everything for a player to accomplish in the regular season. But let's cut right to the chase. Lamar Jackson just hasn't been that same player in the playoffs. And last season's loss to the Chiefs in the AFC Championship game, when the Ravens were really the best team in football from start to finish, is a prime example why. But to be honest with you guys, I don't look at Lamar Jackson's playoff struggles and say definitely that he's just never going to be able to get over that hump, because I do think that one day he will be. You know, we forget Peyton Manning didn't win a Super Bowl until his 9th season in the league. And I really do think that it's Todd Monken and not Lamar Jackson who should be held as the main culprit as to why Baltimore lost that game. Kansas City took an early lead, and after that, Todd Monken panicked. He just refused to run the ball, which was Baltimore's biggest strength all season. And although Lamar has really improved as a passer, I still don't think that's his biggest strength. I think his offensive coordinator really let him down in that game. One last thought on Jackson. I don't love the Derrick Henry signing for Baltimore. I think that their running game was just already a massive strength. And if I were them, I would have just brought back Gus Edwards. Baltimore's number 1 priority this offseason, I think, should have been to improve the pass catchers around Jackson, because the thing about Lamar that's crazy, he has never played with the true elite number 1 wide receiver. And one day I would love to see him get that opportunity. I just don't think you could rely on Mark Andrews to stay healthy at this point in his career. And I just don't think Zay Flowers is good enough to be a number 1 option for a championship team. So I said this on the show for Take for 99 a few weeks back. I'll continue to say it. If I was Baltimore, I would have traded for Stephon Diggs instead of signing Derrick Henry. And I do think that move could be something that cost them this season. I will have Lamar at number 2, or at number 3, I should say. At number 2, I will go with Joe Burrow of the Bengals. And I could have easily penalized him for just not being able to stay healthy. You know, Burrow's been in the NFL for 4 years now. This is going to be his 5th season, and he's suffered a season-ending injury in 2 of them. But to be honest, I just blame the Bengals organization for the way they handled the Burrow situation last year. I think they felt pressure to play him right away after they paid him that big money, and that just blew up in their face. And the bottom line is, when Burrow's on the field and he stays healthy, the Bengals win. He just hasn't brought us. He's just the one that's brought his team to a Super Bowl, while Allen and Lamar haven't been able to do that yet. He also went into Arrowhead Stadium in the playoffs and beat the Chiefs. Lamar and Josh Allen haven't been able to do that. And the bottom line is, I just flat out trust him the most out of those 3 guys. I also can't get that game he had in San Francisco last year out of my head. You know, on the 49ers defense in their home turf, this guy went 28 of 32, had 283 yards, 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. That's pretty ridiculous. And I do wonder if he was able to stay healthy last year, I do wonder how Cincinnati's season would have ended. And one last thought on Burrow. This is going to be his last season where he'll have both Jamar Chase and T. Higgins on the field alongside of him. And I think he really needs to take advantage of that. I know you can knock him for the injuries, but I won't. I will have Joe Burrow at number 2 on my list. And at number 1, it's funny. This is now the 4th season we've been doing this list, as I mentioned with Allen. And one thing that's remained consistent for me each and every year is that Patrick Mahomes has been number 1 on my list. And there's no point in changing that right now. And I will say it was pretty eye-opening to me that Mahomes was voted as the number 4 player in the NFL's top 100 list that came out earlier this week. And he wasn't even voted as the best quarterback. They had Lamar Jackson ahead of him. And I understand that that list is based on what happened last season, and the voting took place in December before the playoffs. But I will also say that Patrick Mahomes entered last season as the reigning NFL MVP, and he just won his 2nd Super Bowl. As good as Lamar Jackson played down the stretch of the regular season last year, I never considered him to be a better player than Patrick Mahomes because he still just has not shown it in the playoffs. So I would have voted Mahomes number 1. The Chiefs also traded away the guy that was ranked number 1 on the NFL top 100 list, Tyreek Hill, and followed it up by winning back-to-back championships. Not to mention, Mahomes sent home Lamar Jackson. He sent home Christian McCaffrey, who were ranked 2 and 3 on the list ahead of him. So that's my thought on Mahomes. I would have had him at number 1. And it really stood out to me that when the Chiefs reported to training camp a couple days ago, Mahomes kind of made it clear that even though this team won the Super Bowl last year, they just went back to back. He said that the Chiefs as a team just weren't having fun, and it wasn't really similar to the past championship years. And that stood out to me. I thought that was something really mature to say, considering they ended up winning the championship. And they dealt with a ton of adversity last year, right? Chris Jones and Travis Kelce, they missed the first game. Then you have Kadarius Toney jumping off sides against Buffalo that cost them. He actually lined up off sides, I should say. You also had the Valdez-Scantling drop on Monday Night Football against the Eagles. They were just a ton of tough moments last year. But the fact that Mahomes literally went out of his way to say that shows me how high the standard is in that building. And after the additions of Hollywood Brown and Xavier Worthy, I think this offense is going to get back on track to a similar version we saw 2 years ago, opposed to last season. And I just think they're going to be way more explosive. And I'll also say this. I remember the regular season after the Chiefs won their first Super Bowl in 2020, and they started 14-1 that season. They went 15-2, but one of the games they lost was because Mahomes didn't play. It was a meaningless Week 17 game. I think we could see something similar to that, and maybe Kansas City could go, like 15-2 or 14-3 this regular season. I just think they're going to be on a mission to really be better during the regular season. And I'm also happy that Mahomes finally buried that narrative that he wasn't capable of winning playoff games on the road, which he did last season. And it's funny because that narrative was not because of evidence and games we saw him not play well on the road in the playoffs. It's just because the Chiefs as a team have been so dominant that we literally never seen them go on the road in the playoffs up to that point. So I'm happy he was able to shut down that notion. This was a no-brainer for me. He was number 1 on my list, Patrick Mahomes of the Chiefs. So to recap, 5 through 1, I had C.J Stroud of the Texans at number 5, Josh Allen at number 4. We had Lamar Jackson at number 3, Joe Burrow at number 2, Patrick Mahomes at number 1. And again, I'll have full graphics out for both my list and Will's list by the end of the week.
I'm going to let you respond because we pretty much got same guys, maybe in a little different order, but not too much. So I'm going to let you respond to what Zach has so far.
No, yeah, I think the list is fair. If I was gonna go in terms of talent, I'll probably put C.J Stroud over Lamar Jackson. Just off the ability of throwing the football. I think Lamar Jackson is a dynamic football player. I just think in terms of quarterback, C.J Stroud brings a different element that dices up defenses differently, and we saw that extend to the playoffs last year. C.J Stroud's ability to kind of dot the field wherever the receivers are and kind of get any receiver to get open and get touches, like guys from like Noah Brown and on. There was a lot of players on that Texans team after Nico Collins and Tank Dell went out that he was still able to get in pinpoint precision. I think I hold that a little bit higher in terms of quarterback rankings over Lamar Jackson in that regard. Not saying Lamar Jackson isn't a great quarterback. I just say his inability to kind of throw in tight spaces and throw the football consistently is what lowers him down on the list for me. Even to the point where I might even put a Dak Prescott over Lamar Jackson. But that's just a hot take. But either way, I like the list. I think the list is great.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead. Any more points you want to add there, Zay, before I go on?
No, that's pretty much it. I agree with everything else on the list. It's just, like I said, Lamar Jackson, he still have yet to prove to me he could be that thrower on the field. But hopefully this season upcoming could be that season.
All right, I want to start off my list very unorthodox this week because I have a change. And I want to say this change before I go in with my number 5. Last week, I had C.J Stroud coming in at 6. I'm actually going to have him coming at 5. And I'm going to swap his spot at 6 with Justin Herbert. I know it's unorthodox. It's like a trade during the draft. It happens. But the reason why I want to do that specifically, I didn't talk about Justin Herbert yet, so I'm going to start off there, is because obviously we got the news of the injury to his foot. Justin Herbert, he's going to be out till week 1. And I don't really think that's ideal for a team that's installing a new coach, a team that's installing a new tight end room, a new wide receiver room, a new running back room, a new pretty much almost everything. I think you would want to be there during camps to be able to gain that continuity, gain that chemistry, utilize the preseason, and now that's not going to be a thing. So I don't think the Chargers offense is going to come out humming. I think they're going to have to gradually get into the timing and the rhythm, and then possibly they can take off and Justin Herbert can show us some of those nuances that make him from the eyes one of the top 5 quarterbacks in football, you would say, from a pure talent perspective, because of the throws that he can make from hash to hash. Hashtag he's that dude. So I like him at number 6. And I just wanted to make that little swap there. And at number 5, C.J. Stroud. I pretty much talked about him last week. I talked about the scheme continuity, along with the adding of Stephon Diggs and the fact that the Texans, they had a relatively new team last year full of new guys, and yet, they started 0-2, and then they made it do what it do after that. I think he's one of the best pocket passes with his accuracy down the field. I like him at 5. I'm going to go ahead to number 4. And I'm going to go with, and this pains me to put him, even though this is high, for me, this is paining me right now to put him low. Because I think you can make the case he could be the best quarterback in the NFL. And that's Joe Burrow. I don't want to put him here at 4. I really think healthy, he's up there at 2 and possibly has a case for 1. Because let's be clear, he's 2-0 against Mahomes in the regular season. And he should be 2-0 against Mahomes in the playoffs if they didn't get robbed 2 years ago by the daggone referees. Okay? So we cannot forget that. He's very clutch. We know that. And I think last year, when you talk about last year and the roller coaster that it was, the Bengals having the calf injury, playing through that determination to the point where, he's one of the best quarterbacks in the league. I'll take him on 1 foot over a guy with 2 foot. Okay? And they was able to ride that storm until he got into a rhythm and we was out of the danger zone, and he played like one of the best quarterbacks in football until he got hurt again with the hand injury that ended the season, which is very unfortunate because I thought they was going to be on a mission to get back to the Super Bowl. I think they could have capitalized off the Chiefs' mistakes that they had playing around, farting around throughout the regular season before they got their act together and went on that playoff run. Joe Burrow is a guy who would not falter in the playoffs like Lamar Jackson. Joe Burrow is a guy that would not falter in the playoffs like, I won't even say Josh Allen. I thought Josh Allen played well to win that game. Stephon Diggs, can you catch the ball? My point being, Joe Burrow is that dude. He's clutch. He's a master pocket manipulator. He can make the throws on the football field. He's a leader. He has underrated at times mobility where he can scramble out of trouble and extend drives, and he just wins. And listen, it hurts me to put him this low, but I think the injury has something to do with it. I want to see how he bounces back this year, and I have no doubt he will, but I'm just going to put him here at number 4. At number 3, I'm going to go with Lamar Jackson at number 3. I disagree with Zach. I think the Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry duo is going to terrorize defenders. because you're going to have to defend that RPO game and figure out, do we tackle this truck that is Derrick Henry? Do we tackle this turbo stick that is Lamar Jackson? And that will keep me up at night. I'm pretty sure it will keep defenders up at night as well. Look, I have my questions like everybody else. Can Lamar Jackson win when it matters? I have that question. But we cannot deny that regular season, this is one of the best quarterbacks in football in the regular season, if not the best quarterback in football purely in the regular season. Winning 2 MVPs, just having years where he just like takes over the game week to week, and even games in there where they blow out good teams. Like last year, they blew out the Lions. The Lions was a daggone good team, and they just blew them out. The Seahawks, they blew them out. Like, they have those moments where they just blow good teams out. I would like to see that in the playoffs. Last year in the playoffs, we can touch base on that. I think you could go 50-50, split the bill. It was Todd Monken and Lamar Jackson. It was Todd Monken in the sense that he did not continue to stick with the game plan, which is running the football. They saw Patrick Mahomes drive down the field, 7-0. Oh my God. We got to pass the ball. Not run the football. No, that's where they messed up. You could run your way back in the game. 7-point lead, bro. Game just started. Okay? But I do put, blame on Lamar Jackson for being in that fourth quarter, overthrowing Odell Beckham and company at various times in that fourth quarter. The defense gave him ample amount of opportunities to get it together. He followed that up by throwing the ball into triple coverage, which resulted in an INT. Okay, and that's not good. That is the equivalent to Jordan Love and what he did. Everybody talk about Jordan Love in that throwing across his body, and we want to harp on that here on the show, but ain't nobody harping on this Lamar Jackson who won 2 MVPs throwing the ball in triple coverage. That's equally as bad. Okay, with all due respect, especially him being a veteran. Okay, so yes, playoffs, it scares me. However, I still think he's one of the best quarterbacks in football, and there's times where I watch him and I'll be like, yo, this might be the best quarterback in football. I just hope to see him be consistent come January, and hopefully he will. At number 2, I'm going to go with Josh Allen. Okay, I'm going to go with Josh Allen, number 2. Player number 2 for me. Okay. Yes, at times he could be reckless and turn the ball over. But if there's anybody who can get away with it, it's Josh Allen. Why? Because take a guy like Brett Favre, turnover prone at times. He could get away with it because he's Brett Favre. Josh Allen, you can get away with it because you're Josh Allen. So yeah, you're going to throw for 400 yards. You're going to make some plays where you run over guys, right? We'll take that. And you're going to make some plays where you throw a boneheaded INT. Okay, well, if we win the game, I'll take it. Okay, as long as we win the game, I'll take it. And I think for me, Josh Allen is going to be able to show the world that he is a top 2 quarterback. They traded Diggs, sort of like what they did with Mahomes. Traded away Tyreek Hill. And now you have a bunch of mix and matches that you're going to put on the field. And guess what, Josh Allen? You go be great. You go show the world that you are a top 2 quarterback. And I believe he will do that. Okay, I think people are underrating this team. I think this team could still win this division. Okay. And I still think that Josh Allen is one of those dudes. And this may be a hot take, but I just think you need to just watch football in order to agree with me here. Okay. There's no talented quarterback. Mahomes is obviously in this category. Lamar Jackson is obviously in this category, but there's no talented quarterback in the league other than Josh Allen as far as the highest. He's the highest. He's the most talented quarterback in the football. Guy 6'5", can run you over like a daggone truck, can throw the ball 60, 70 yards. There's no talented quarterback more than Josh Allen. I mean, you see this guy hurdle. I mean, all right, fine, Mahomes. Mahomes is in that category, right? He can throw the ball as well. He can do the side stuff, the theatrics. But can he hurdle over somebody? Have you ever seen him hurdle over somebody? Like, Josh Allen can do that easily in his sleep. Okay, he can run over guys, okay? So Josh Allen is the most talented quarterback in the NFL. But he has to win. That's what it comes down to. He has to win. And hopefully this year he can win. And at number 1, and this will be the year that I will have Mahomes at number 1, okay? And look, I said with golf, winning Winning has to matter, and Mahomes has won. Now you look at why I cannot, because everybody just thinks I'm a Chiefs hater. Okay, let me tell you why I can't rank. If we want to go with that narrative, let me tell you why I can't rank anybody ahead of Mahomes right now. All right, let's go to number 4. Joe Burrow. Okay, well, guess what? Last year, he missed last year. Okay, so I can't rank him over Mahomes, right? Number 3, Lamar Jackson. Well, Mahomes just beat Lamar Jackson in the playoffs. Okay, we have yet to see if Lamar Jackson can win in the playoffs. Okay, Josh Allen. Okay, Mahomes beat Josh Allen in the playoffs last year and has owned Josh Allen in the playoffs, even though Josh Allen has fought back. Okay, Mahomes has to be number 1 here. And I think my points for not ranking him that the last couple of years I thought was fair, even if people wanted to disagree. 2 years ago, they traded away Tyreek Hill. I thought that was going to be the decline of the team. I thought it was over. I thought the dynasty that was beginning was over there. It wasn't. They won a Super Bowl. Well, last year, they lost Juju, and I'm like, who the hell are they throwing the ball to? So, yeah, I'm going to have Joe Burrow over this guy, and guess what? They win another Super Bowl. Folks, I'm not an idiot. Okay, I'm not, right? I don't put any feelings into this list. Okay, this is strictly the top 32 list for me with my own 2 eyes. You know, criterias, achievements, all that is factored in here. And right now, Mahomes is dominating the league until proven otherwise. You know, I think Joe Burrow is going to have an opportunity to say something about that now that he's healthy. I think Lamar Jackson at some point, I mean, you're turning in all these good regular seasons. You got to turn in the good playoffs, right? I think Josh Allen, hello, you know, you're one of the best quarterbacks in football at some point, right? But as of right now, we're not at that point right now. As of right now, it's Mahomes, number 1. So to recap my list, before I do, let me just say this one more point about Mahomes. The thing that I like about Mahomes is that I've seen him adapt his game, be patient. I like his patience, you know, not forcing a big play down the field, taking what the defense gives him, you know, holding the ball to the last second, you know, scrambling, being mobile, and then letting the ball go, letting the receivers reroute. He's very smart. I like him at number 1. So to recap my list, at number 5, I got C.J Stroud. At number 4, I got Joe Burrow. At number 3, I got Lamar Jackson. At number 2, I got Josh Allen. And at number 1, I got Mahomes.
Yeah, I think that's a good list. And I think, you know, like I said, I think both lists 1 through 32 throughout this whole journey was great. I hope people go back to watch it and they compare it to how the season goes. You know, just like a hot take here, I think C.J Stroud might wind up becoming that number 1 quarterback this year and years to come, just based upon his ability to throw the ball in tight windows. I just think, like, it doesn't matter how you game plan for him. He just always makes the right read, and we have to see if that's going to follow up this year, of course. You know, a lot of quarterbacks have that sophomore slump. Let's see if he gets that slump or if he just rises above all and continues to thrive. Mahomes is just a ridiculous quarterback, especially that now they got another guy who's a speed receiver in Xavier Worthy. Let's see if they utilize his speed early on in the season and try to create that same dynamic play that him and Tyreek Hill had once upon a time. So, but, you know, putting Mahomes 1 is the only right thing to do.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, look, listen, I'm not the type of guy that will say, okay, well, you're a better version of yourself. That means you're going to do anything. Because I do believe there's 31 other teams in the NFL, and teams are going to try to be a better version of themselves as well and pose a threat to dethrone you, right? However, there is an argument to be made that this year the offense should be better than the last 2 seasons. And they won the Super Bowl that year. Now, I'm not saying that's going to mean they're going to win a third one. I don't believe in that. I don't believe in the NFL modern day that you can win back to back to back. Unless there's something wrong with the league.
It's never happened. Like,
it's never happened.
Past day.
Okay.
Like, we've never.
However, their offense on paper is definitely better than the last 2 years.
Yeah, Lil, solid list 1 through 5 there. I wanted to bring the conversation back to Josh Allen though, and I just wanted to say this. Josh Allen at number 2 is hard for me because I literally have seen the guy you ranked number 4, Joe Burrow, bring his team to a Super Bowl. I've literally seen Lamar Jackson, the guy you put at number 3, win the MVP award twice. And I haven't seen Josh Allen do either of those two things yet. And I want to see him do it this year before I put him at number 2. And before you hop in, I just wanted to say, you said like, oh, I think people are sleeping on Buffalo. I think this team is still going to win the AFC East. That's
no. I said I think this team has a great shot to still win the AFC East.
Okay, well, even if they do that, I don't think that's good enough. They've done that each of the last 5 years, and that's not good enough anymore. You have to do better than that. And for me with Josh Allen, I'm just wondering, and the Diggs loss, like, I don't think it's a huge deal. I do think at this point in Diggs' career, I don't think staying in Buffalo would have been the best course of action. I think after what happened in that playoff game, it was just best for both sides to go their separate ways. And I think long-term, sure, that could be a good thing for Buffalo. But I need to see Keon Coleman prove that he could play in this league. We haven't seen him take a snap yet. He was a second-round pick. I need to see him do it. Same thing with Dalton Kincaid. He had some moments as a rookie, but I need to see more. And I'm just wondering, everyone on this show is that we didn't get to see prime Dan Marino, right? We didn't see him play. That was before our time. But I just wonder if Josh Allen's career trajectory is similar to Dan Marino's, where there were times when you watched him play, you could make the case that he was the best or most talented quarterback in the league. But at the end of the day, these are the best 32 quarterbacks. We're not ranking these guys just based on pure talent. And I do wonder if Josh Allen has that Dan Marino trajectory, like when his career is over, what are we going to be saying about him? And where is he going to be ranked all time? I know he still has a long way to go, but to be honest, there's just nothing around him right now that makes me think that this Buffalo Bills team is close to winning a championship. Now, if he does that this year, or if he even gets his team to a Super Bowl, I said I will have him ranked in the top 3 next year, maybe even the top 2, but I just want to see him do that. I want to see him either win an MVP or bring his team to a Super Bowl, not win it, but get his team to a Super Bowl before I have him ranked in the top 2.
Go ahead.
I want to say something real quick, and I think the reason why I agree slightly with Zach is because if we're calling Josh Allen this such a dynamic quarterback, before a lot of people equated Stephon Diggs as the reason why Josh Allen had so much success in Buffalo, and the reason why he is the quarterback that he is, was Stephon Diggs' star power that brought in a different dynamic of Josh Allen. But if he's able to do it this year with Kincaid, Samuels, Keon Coleman, Cook,
Khalil Shakur, Curtis Samuel.
If he's able to do it with this group and go far in another AFC championship, it looks great on Josh Allen, but we're still waiting for that next gear, right? We're still waiting for, all right, you got to the AFC championship, and at that point, when are you going to reach the next step of, I am that dude, the championship is mine? When is that next level going to come? We all know, we've seen him go to the AFC championship multiple times already.
Just once, and he got blown out.
So when's the next step going to come?
Right. A couple things. All right. If you wanted to rank Josh Allen lower than 2 because you want to see what he does post Diggs, I can't argue that. If that's the route you want to go, I cannot argue that. Right? However, what I'm saying is that you look at, for example, you talk about Lamar Jackson, won an MVP. You talk about Mahomes, won a Super Bowl. You talk about Joe Burrow, right? Been to a Super Bowl. Fine. That's cool, right? You talk about talent. Oh, I'm ranking him high because of talent. Okay, well, y'all rank Rodgers for a lot of years in his prime, number 1 without winning. With playoff losses.
I never said he was better.
I'm not saying you, Zach. I'm talking about mainstream media and a lot of people. Okay, followed that narrative. He's the best quarterback in football. Didn't win in the playoffs like that. Okay, so there is a level of eye test that comes into play here. When I watch Josh Allen, to me, and even when he's on the field against Mahomes, I don't sit back and say Mahomes is a clear, better quarterback. This is just me. Okay, maybe I got to go to the eye doctor tonight after this show is over. But when I watch Mahomes, strictly Mahomes, Allen, right? Take away the team for a second. Mahomes and Allen on the field. You talk about that thriller in overtime. You talk about last year, going back and forth. I cannot sit here and say, oh, Mahomes is a clear better quarterback than Josh Allen. That's not true.
It's just hard for me to agree with that. They've played in the playoffs three times, and Mahomes
you're talking
has beat them
about the
every
W.
time.
You're talking about the L. That's
the
fine.
most
W
important
and L.
criteria.
I get that point. But Mahomes is not playing by himself on the field. Josh Allen is not playing by himself on the field. How we judge those guys on the field is okay. If Josh Allen threw an interception in the fourth quarter, it's different. Okay, whoever got the ball last is who got the ball last. Okay, the coin toss decided who won that game. All right, it's a team sport. Josh Allen has never had the defense that Mahomes has. Okay, or have now. Lamar Jackson, same thing, hasn't had his defense. And by the way, Lamar Jackson and Allen both played in the playoffs against each other. Who won that game? Josh Allen. Okay, Lamar Jackson did not look good in that game either. So I think these guys 1 through 4 is very interchangeable. But the reason why I have Josh Allen at number 2 is because with my own 2 eyes, I'm not gonna lie. When I see Lamar Jackson go up against Mahomes, I'm worried. I'm like, I don't know, Lamar Jackson. I don't know. Okay. When I see Joe Burrow go up against Mahomes, I'm not worried. That's why I said he could have been number 2, right?
He should have been. He was number 2 on my list.
When I see Josh Allen go up against Mahomes, I'm worried. I'm not worried. I'm not worried about Josh Allen. I'm worried about Stephon Diggs dropping a daggone 64-yard bomb. I'm worried about Tyler Bass, whose ass missing a daggone field goal. I'm worried about their defense with 13 seconds, bro. 13 seconds of length of the daggone field. You give that up. That's why I'm worried. Okay? It's a team sport. And I think Josh Allen is going to have an opportunity this year with the subtractions to show that he can bring a team to a prominent position like Mahomes did without Tyreek Hill. By the way, still got a better coach than Josh Allen by far. Andy Reid, 3 straight NFC Championship games back to back with daggone Donovan McNabb and Randall Cobb and all those guys. Okay, so clearly we know his track record. Okay, and this is not a shot at Mahomes. He's a pretty damn good quarterback. Obviously, I got him at number 1, but I think it's bigger when it matters. But it's just bigger than that as well. Is what the eyes show you. And the eyes tell me Josh Allen should be number 2.
Understood. Listen, I think this quarterback rankings was great. Please like and subscribe to the channel first and foremost, but also comment on who you believe your quarterback 1 should be going into this season. Please like and subscribe for all the up-to-date content. You've been slinging shows left and right, slinging content left and right. Please don't miss anything. If you do, like, subscribe, leave a comment, leave a question, something you may want to answer, something you may have. All ideas are great ideas. Nothing's a dumb question.